Have you ever caught him watching you? Not in the obvious way, but in those stolen moments when he believes you're too distracted to notice. The way his eyes linger just a second too long, or how his tone subtly shifts when he speaks directly to you, as though his voice instinctively softens to match the depth of feeling he doesn't dare name. These aren't random quirks. They're messages from a place within him even he hasn't explored fully. The unconscious never lies. It bypasses filters, logic, and caution. It moves before the mind can intervene. So while his words may be measured, careful, or even confusing, his soul may have already chosen you, quietly, irrevocably. What if I told you that the man whose mixed signals leave you second-guessing is, in truth, far more in love than he himself understands? Carl Jung believed that our deepest emotions don't rise through conscious thought, but emerge through symbols, gestures, and behaviors that often escape our control. And when a man's inner world resonates with yours, his actions start revealing the truths his lips remain too guarded to speak. Most women misread silence as detachment, when in reality it can be a sign of something far more intense. Real love doesn't always arrive loudly or dramatically. Sometimes it transforms without ceremony. It shifts the way he sees the world, the way he inhabits it, and the way he sees you. You might not notice it at first. You may think he's simply inconsistent, unsure, or emotionally unavailable. But often, those confusing moments are signs that something much larger is at play. When love doesn't enter through logic, it seeps through the cracks of daily life. Through glances, through the way his presence shifts when you're near, through how he notices the smallest things about you. Jung once said, "What is not made conscious will manifest as fate." And this applies to love too. If he hasn't yet realized the magnitude of his feelings, don't be mistaken. His soul already knows. It's acting on his behalf, revealing itself in a language deeper than words. So how can you tell when he's truly fallen for you, even if he hasn't admitted it, even to himself? How do you recognize the silent signals his heart is sending? This isn't about analyzing text messages or romantic cliches. We're going beyond the surface. We're entering what Jung called the symbolic realm of the soul, where truth doesn't need to be spoken to be felt. Watch carefully. If you've ever seen him change, just around you, if he behaves in a way that's softer, more present, more vulnerable in your presence, that's not accidental. That's emotional truth manifesting. The kind of attention he gives you isn't loud or attention-seeking. It's in the way he notices your mood even when you say you're fine. It's in the way he picks up on subtle shifts, your new hairstyle, the tone in your voice, the energy you carry that day. This level of awareness doesn't come from habit or flirtation. It comes from connection, from resonance, from something ancient stirring in his depths. True emotion, according to Jung, demands expression. And so, this man may not understand what's happening inside him, but he finds himself pulled toward you without knowing why. He may bring you up in random conversations, ask about things you didn't expect him to remember, show up without a clear reason. His unconscious is guiding him. His soul is reaching out to yours. And this is not obsession. It's not emotional dependence, it's resonance, pure and deep. You have awakened something inside him, and now that part of him is alive, reacting, speaking in silence. Another undeniable sign is transformation. There are men who remain unchanged no matter who they're with. But a man who is genuinely moved by love, especially love he hasn't fully realized, will begin to change in your presence. He may appear more tender, more clumsy, more unsure. Because love, real love, doesn't polish someone. It humbles them. It reveals their truest self. If he lowers his guard around you, if he seems more human, more sincere, more raw, that's not nothing. If his silences with you feel full rather than empty, meaningful rather than awkward, you are not imagining things. You are touching something sacred. Jung also said that what the soul loves, it protects. And so you may begin to notice him caring for you in quiet, protective ways. He might worry if you've eaten, if you're safe, if you're cold, if you're okay. He won't say it with grand declarations. He won't do it to impress you. It will come from somewhere deeper, from the part of him that now sees you as part of his own emotional stability. When a man begins to look out for you in this way, without asking for anything, without wanting applause, it's because, without even knowing it, He's already made you part of his inner world. Whether or not he speaks it, whether or not he even understands it, his soul has already fused with yours in a way that goes beyond reason. So if these moments feel familiar, if something in this resonates with your experience, don't dismiss it. Don't be fooled by his lack of verbal clarity. What's happening beneath the surface may be larger and more profound than either of you yet realize. Stay with me, because what's coming next will uncover even deeper layers, signs that only a true soul connection can bring to light. There are times when a man doesn't need to speak for you to know. His energy, his presence betrays the truth. Maybe he hasn't confessed his feelings, maybe he hasn't made any promises, but his body tells another story. The way his breath catches when you enter the room, the calm he radiates simply by sitting beside you in silence. That silence is not emptiness, it's wholeness, it's presence. It's the meeting of two souls without the noise of the world interfering. When a man is more in love than he dares to admit, his body speaks the truth he cannot yet face. Watch how he reacts when others speak of you. If someone praises you, does his face soften? If someone criticizes you, does his expression darken with unspoken defense? His instinct will respond before his mind has time to make sense of it, because the unconscious always acts in service of what the heart holds dear. Jung believed the unconscious follows its own logic, its own laws. Often, our deepest emotions are the ones we haven't yet named. So if a man jolts at the sound of your name, even subtly, it's because something within him already knows. You matter, more than he realized, more than he's ready to say. And then there's effort, that quiet, consistent effort, not to impress, but to connect. When someone feels something true, they begin to try in ways they never did before. He remembers small things you've said, adapts small parts of his world for you, shows up when you didn't even ask. These aren't grand gestures, but they are real, and they are rare. There's something quietly revealing in the way he carries himself, even when he believes he has fallen short. His apologies are not grand or embellished. They are subtle, understated, yet genuine. That quiet effort made without spectacle speaks volumes, because a man who feels nothing doesn't shift, doesn't budge. But one who feels, even if he doesn't fully understand those feelings, begins to make space for you in his world, not to impress, not out of a sense of duty or to gain approval, but because something inside of him is already rearranging itself to accommodate your presence. And here lies a truth that often escapes the casual observer. When a man is truly moved by someone, the transformation begins from the inside, often long before it is visible on the outside. Even in your absence, he changes. His daily rhythms become disjointed. His thoughts, once orderly and predictable, now scatter with flashes of your image, memories of your words, echoes of your laughter. You become an internal presence, one that lingers, unsettles, and stirs something he cannot yet name. He might appear distracted, more introspective, more restless. It's as though something dormant has been awakened within him, and though he might not yet know what it means, the truth is unmistakable. You are there. Not just as a memory, but as an imprint on his emotional landscape. Carl Jung spoke of the power of internal figures, their ability to catalyze deep transformation, often without the need for physical proximity, and perhaps without intending to. You have become one of those figures in his psyche, a quiet force that stirs the unconscious waters, shifting the very currents of who he thought he was. Even if he never voices it, even if he tries to rationalize it away or deny it to himself, your presence is already woven into the fabric of his inner world. This is why surface-level signals can be misleading. Many men don't vocalize what they feel, not because they lack depth, but because translating the language of the soul into spoken words is an immense task. Logic cannot always hold the weight of emotion, but if you pay close attention, if you are truly attuned, you'll begin to perceive what even he hasn't fully grasped yet, that his heart has already chosen, even before he's consciously aware of it. So stay. Stay a little longer and watch, because there are more signs, subtle, quiet yet profound, that point to a love that is not loud, but unshakable. A love that grows in silence, taking root in the shadows, waiting patiently for the light. There is a slow but undeniable metamorphosis, that unfolds within the heart of a man when he is falling deeply in love. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or visible declarations. It's almost imperceptible at first, a shift in posture, a delay in response, a lingering look. Yet it is powerful, it is real. You'll begin to notice it when he starts to shed old patterns, habits that once defined him. Maybe he was evasive with commitments before. Maybe he kept an emotional wall around himself, living in the comfortable isolation of self-sufficiency. But since you appeared in his life, something within him has begun to stir. He can no longer be satisfied thinking only of himself. Without realizing it, he begins to create space for you, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Not because he's trying to win you over, but because the architecture of his inner world is being remodeled by something beyond logic. His soul is responding to yours. Pay close attention to what he chooses to share with you, not just facts or anecdotes, but the sacred, often hidden pieces of who he is, his past wounds, the regrets he rarely voices, the fragile dreams he hides even from himself. When he offers these fragments, he is not doing so out of weakness, but out of profound trust. It's not about impressing you with his story, but about allowing himself to be seen without the armor. At that point, the dynamic between you two transcends games or strategies. It becomes something else entirely. It becomes surrender. And though surrender might seem like a small thing, in the heart of a man who has spent a lifetime defending his emotional solitude, it is monumental. It means something inside him has shifted for good. Jung once said that the soul requires a mirror to truly see itself, and your presence without effort becomes that mirror for him. Through your eyes, he begins to perceive himself differently, not as an isolated entity, but as someone who is capable of being deeply connected, someone worthy of love and of offering it in return. And then there's something else, often overlooked, but deeply telling. How does he respond to your emotions? Not all people can handle another's emotional intensity, but a man who is truly connected with you begins, without even realizing it, to emotionally synchronize with your inner world. Your happiness lifts him, your sadness unsettles him. Even if he doesn't have the words, even if he fumbles or stumbles, his energy shifts in response to yours. He may not ask you directly, "Are you okay?" every time, but you'll see it in his gaze, in the softening of his voice, in how he draws near to you with uncertainty in his steps, but sincerity in his intention. That instinct, the raw, unpolished desire to simply be with you in your feeling, is one of the most honest expressions of unconscious love. Yet perhaps the clearest signal of all happens when you're not physically present. Observe how he behaves in those quiet, in-between moments. If he brings you up in casual conversation without prompting, if he stores little thoughts and moments to share with you later, if you're the first person who comes to mind when something beautiful or difficult happens in his day, these are not coincidences. They are revelations of how deeply you have embedded yourself in his internal landscape, because the feelings that endure in absence are the ones that carry the most weight. What remains alive within him even when you're far speaks louder than anything he might say when you're near. That, more than any grand gesture, is the voice of the soul, the language of something real, something lasting. This is not about playing emotional detective or interpreting vague signs. It's about learning to read not with the mind, but with the heart. Because love, real love, often arrives not with certainty, but with subtlety, with signs and signals only the heart can catch. And if you stay close, if you continue to observe with the quiet wisdom of someone who listens with the soul, you'll witness something rare. The way a man loves when he can no longer hide it, when that love begins to shape the very structure of his world. He may not say it aloud, but you'll feel it in his presence, his restlessness when you're silent, his sudden appearance when you least expect it, the way he finds reasons, any reasons, to come close again, even for a moment. This is not obsession. This is not dependency. It is the genuine pull of connection, the kind that roots itself not in the surface but in the depths. And if you ask him why you're always on his mind, he might not know what to say. But Jung would. He would say that the unconscious is not bound by logic or time, that when a true feeling takes root there, It begins to manifest in all things, in thoughts, in dreams, in choices not yet fully understood. One of the clearest signs of this is how he starts involving you in decisions that once belonged only to him. Maybe he talks about his future, about his plans, and you notice that you are already part of those visions, not as an afterthought, but as a quiet constant. He asks your opinion not out of formality, but because he truly wants to know whether his imagined life makes room for you, whether the future he's constructing aligns with the soul that is standing beside him now. And it goes even further. He begins to open up about his uncertainties, his fears, his insecurities, not because he's placing the burden on you to fix them, and not because he sees you as a therapist, but because his heart, without even fully understanding it, has identified in you a place of safety, a shelter, a home. There are moments when love doesn't declare itself with grand gestures or dramatic words. It arrives quietly, without asking for attention. It appears in how someone begins to shift their world slowly, without even noticing it, around your presence. And when you look closely, when you observe the subtleties of their being, you begin to see that something deeper is unfolding, not because they told you, but because everything about them begins to echo your name. When a man begins to see you not as an addition, but as a presence he can't imagine his life without, it's not merely affection, it's a transformation of his inner reality. His priorities shift, often without conscious thought. You'll notice how even in your absence his decisions reflect your influence, not as obligation, but as instinct. His energy gravitates toward you like a compass finding north, not because he is trying to, but because his soul has already recognized something true and essential in you. This is the kind of love that Carl Jung spoke of, not born from logic, not constructed from conscious ideals, but emerging from the unconscious, from the symbolic and mysterious terrain of the soul. Jung believed that the unconscious does not lie, that the symbols and actions it inspires come from the deepest parts of who we are, those untouched by fear, ego, or performance. So when a man's unconscious begins to pull him toward you, through gestures, through silent loyalties, through the peace he finds only in your presence, it is not a coincidence. It is a revelation. He might not have the words for it yet. He might not even fully understand what is happening inside him. But love, real love, doesn't wait for full understanding. It simply begins to grow. It takes root in the quiet, in the unseen, in the moments when his attention lingers a little longer, when his choices begin to include you without needing to explain why. He'll align with your rhythm, not because you asked, but because something within him is already dancing to your song. And even if he hasn't said it aloud, even if he hasn't admitted to himself just how much you've begun to matter, his soul already has. You'll feel it in the way he begins to soften around you, in the way he lets down his guard, in how being with you brings him a stillness he didn't know he needed. That stillness, that peace, it's love in one of its most sacred forms. It's the sanctuary where his true self feels seen, safe, and free to simply be. So watch closely, not for declarations, but for devotion. Not for fireworks, but for presence. The way he returns to you even after long days, the way he listens to you without distraction, the way he makes space for your essence in the architecture of his life, these are not small things. These are the silent echoes of a soul that has chosen you, and if you've felt this, if your intuition has whispered what logic still doubts, trust it, because the heart often knows long before the mind can catch up. You're not imagining the depth of what is unfolding. You're not misreading the language of his soul. He is already loving you, not with performance or precision, but with the quiet constancy of someone whose inner world has already made room for you. This is where real love lives, in the space between words, in the transformation of everyday moments into sacred signs, in the invisible thread that pulls one soul toward another without needing to know why. And if you have witnessed this, if you have seen him protect you in silence, change without realizing it, offer you his truest self without armor, then believe this: he is already far more in love with you than even he understands. And that perhaps is the most honest kind of love there is. We'll meet again in the next video.